Diddy's final lifeline is slipping through his fingers. His last hope of avoiding a lifetime behind bars vanished when President Trump announced he would not be granting Diddy a pardon. To make matters worse, Diddy's desperate $50 million bail proposal was shot down in court. With sentencing now only weeks away, the outlook couldn't be darker. It seems the music mogul is destined to spend the rest of his days in prison. But here's the burning question. What exactly did Diddy say to Trump that led him to shut the door on a pardon? And is there any path left for Diddy to escape the fate closing in on him?
Trump now clarifies his comments during an interview with Newsmax on August 1st.
Sean Diddy Combs,
Right.
would you consider pardoning him?
Well, he was essentially, I guess, sort of half innocent.
Yes.
I don't know what they do. He's still in jail or something. But he was celebrating a victory, but he seems, I guess it wasn't as good as a victory. Probably, I was very friendly with him. I got along with him great. And seemed like a nice guy. I didn't know him well. But when I ran for office, he was very hostile.
He said some not so nice things about you, sir.
Yeah, and
Yes.
it's hard, like you, we're human beings.
Right.
And we don't like to have things cloud our judgment, right? But when you knew someone and you were fine, and then you run for office and he made some terrible statements. So I don't know, it's more difficult. It makes it more, I'm being honest, it makes it more difficult to do.
But more likely a no for Combs,
I would
sounds
say
like.
so.
Okay.
A few weeks ago, CNN confirmed that Diddy's legal team had entered discussions with the Trump administration about a possible presidential pardon. Although his lawyers had denied such talks from the beginning, White House staff later confirmed the conversations, forcing them to acknowledge the truth. Diddy's attorney, Mark Agnifilo, admitted that his client personally instructed him to reach out to Trump, saying, "Tell him I need a pardon."
Senior White House official declined to comment on, quote, speculation and told us any decision on pardons would come from the president himself. Combs' attorney, Mark Agnifilo, said he has not talked to the Trump administration about it. You mean to tell me that you really have nothing to do with a possible pardon right now?
Nothing. I have nothing to do with a possible pardon.
What is Sean Combs saying about the possibility of a pardon?
I think he knows I'm not political. We've never discussed it other than I tell him what's in the news about it.
And what's his reaction? Does he laugh? Does he say, let's look into it? What does he say?
Go tell him that I need a pardon. Go tell him I deserve a pardon. That's what he said.
How are you preparing him?
So, I tell him what the guidelines are, and the guidelines are about 2 or 3 years. And I tell him, the judge could go above the guidelines.
Do you have any regrets in how you tried this case?
It's a good question. Not really. Not really.
You called the relationship between Combs and Ventura a great modern love story. Ventura says she was raped, physically abused, and became addicted to drugs because of Combs.
I think that's what makes it, we vehemently deny. And I know, I respect that she said that. I don't think the jury concluded that happened. In terms of the drugs and the other stuff, I think that's what makes it a modern love story. I think she very much loved him, and I know he very much loved her.
Cassie Ventura's attorney told us that Agnifilo's description of the relationship is a, quote, complete disgrace and affront to survivors of domestic violence.
In a press interview, Trump acknowledged that he and Diddy had once been friends and admitted he had considered looking into a pardon. More recently, however, Trump shifted his tone, saying Diddy was, basically, I guess, sort of half innocent. He described it as if Diddy had celebrated a win, but in the end, it wasn't the kind of victory he had hoped for.
Diddy was a good friend of yours back then. He has since found himself in some very serious legal trouble.
Yeah, that's true.
Would you ever consider pardoning him?
Well, nobody's asked. You had to be the one to ask, Peter, but nobody's asked. But I know people are thinking about it. I know they're thinking about it. I think some people have been very close to asking. First of all, I'd look at what's happening, and I haven't been watching it too closely, although it's certainly getting a lot of coverage. I haven't seen him. I haven't spoken to him in years. He used to really like me a lot, but I think when I ran for politics, that relationship busted up. from what I read. I don't know. He didn't tell me that, but I'd read some little bit nasty statements in the paper all of a sudden. You know, it's different. You become a much different person when you run for politics and you do what's right. I could do other things, and I'm sure he'd like me, and I'm sure other people would like me, but it wouldn't be as good for our country. As we said, our country's doing really well because of what we're doing. So it's not a popularity contest. So I don't know. I would certainly look at the facts. If I think somebody was mistreated, whether they like me or don't like me, it wouldn't have any impact on me.
Now, the final thing I want to say is this. You know, I asked Joe Tacopina, what about Trump's comment? What does it do to the jury? And he thought it was a nightmare for Diddy that Donald Trump said this. And the reason he thinks that is when the jury goes into deliberations, they could end up saying, well, look, I mean, even if we convict him, because we kind of think he's guilty, we're not sure he's guilty, but if we find him guilty, he's probably going to get pardoned because Trump kind of sent that message.
For years, those close to Diddy have whispered about the possibility of a presidential pardon. Suge Knight even claimed that Diddy had been working as a federal informant, protected by powerful connections that would keep him out of prison no matter what. According to Knight, Diddy fed the feds inside information while openly flaunting his own crimes, confident that the law would never touch him. Police knew exactly what he was involved in, yet the indictments never came. And that silence only fueled his boldness.
Suge, do you think he's going to be all right because someone's going to tamper with the jury? Is that what you're trying to say?
He got enough influence, and I'm quite sure, don't seem like the prosecution is that bad against him. Don't seem like I think he got some favors with the government. I think they're going to show him a little leeway. It might not seem like it when it's all said and done, but I don't think he has nothing to worry about. I don't think he's worried because he's going to be federal. And if he get convicted, Trump's going to pardon him. So what's the worry?
You think the President of the United States would pardon Sean Combs for trafficking?
Shit, he pardoned Michael Harris, who allegedly killed a Jewish teenager or had him. So they don't care about that. It's all about, what's in it for the long run and what the bucks say and what the power of the people want.
How does it go on for so long? When we were on the street, we didn't get a day's rest. I mean, the government was all over us. The FBI is all over us. They got investigations on us. They got informants. They got surveillance equipment.
He was not cutting you off, but he was an informant for years.
Was he really?
Yeah. That's why when people was like, oh, he's going to run, he's not. It's the reason why these type of people get caught up. They always been telling they're bigger than the law because they part of the law, And as you know, all these people get tired of their raps sooner or later.
Lately, nothing has been breaking Diddy's way. And while Trump has shown he can forgive, he's made it clear he doesn't forget. During Trump's run for office, Diddy publicly waged a hate campaign against him, even going so far as to launch his own political party. Now, Trump says those attacks are weighing heavily on his mind, admitting in a recent interview that Diddy's past words will make it very difficult to grant him a pardon.
Things have got too serious of a point. Seeing what's going on, white men like Trump need to be banished. That way of thinking, it's real dangerous. This man literally threatened the lives of us and our families about going to vote.
Mm-hmm. Stand back and stand by.
Stand back and stand by.
Yeah.
We're in a war. We're not taking this like it's a war. We're taking this like, we're in a presidential election. No, we're in a war of love versus hate. The number one priority is to get Trump out of office. The tribe of people that have the responsibility and really should be scared to death of this man is white people.
Explain.
If this man is elected, we're not standing by no more getting killed. We're not scared of anybody standing up and standing by. We're on the verge of a race war.
Perhaps the biggest factor in Trump's change of heart on Diddy has been 50 Cent. From the moment rumors of a presidential pardon surfaced, 50 has been flooding social media with old clips of Diddy's anti-Trump campaign, making sure the former president doesn't forget. In one post, 50 even mocked him directly, writing, "See, Trump don't like S like this, buddy. You run your mouth too much.
White men like Trump need to be banished. Trump gets elected, I really do believe in my heart there'll be a race war. That's why this message is not just to black people. You know what I'm saying? This message is to everybody. You know, this man is really trying to turn us against each other and put us in a situation. America messed up.
President Trump even called him a good friend on a 2012 episode of his TV show The Apprentice. The problem is, some comments Diddy made about Trump in recent years as Diddy really entered the political realm. There's a video where he's speaking to radio host Charlemagne saying, if Trump gets elected, I really do believe in my heart there'll be a race war. In another video on Revolt, he says white men like Trump need to be banished. And by the way, you know who's not letting anyone forget this? Combs' rival 50 Cent. Took to social media recently, wrote, see, Trump don't like S like this, buddy, you run your mouth too much. And Donald doesn't take well to disrespect and doesn't forget who chooses to go against him. While working tirelessly to make America great again, there is no room for distraction. He would consider pardoning anyone who is being mistreated, not Puff Daddy. And let me tell you, the idea of Trump pardoning Diddy is not getting a ton of love out there.
Gene Deal saw this coming long before anyone else. A year ago, he predicted that Trump would never pardon Diddy, saying their friendship was long over and that Trump had no interest in facing the firestorm of backlash that would come with protecting someone accused of being a monster. Those close to the former president say he felt personally disrespected by Diddy and made up his mind not to risk his reputation for a man who had publicly humiliated him.
How do you feel about the people that feel like Trump, he might pardon Diddy?
First of all, he got to be charged and be in prison to be pardoned. You got to realize that the feds could take this case for 2, 3, maybe 4 years, and Trump will be out of office. You don't know how long the feds are gonna go on with this. You understand what I'm saying? You hear people talking crazy talk. Well, they ain't got nothing because, man, I've seen the dude sit behind bars for 2 years before he had his trial with the feds. And by the time a pardon come in, another year would come by. So that's just a whole lot of propaganda. Puff wasn't even f***ing with Trump like that no more. He was going against Donald Trump. Donald Trump is petty as 50 Cent. Do you understand that? You see how petty 50 is? Donald Trump is just as petty as 50, bro. And he gonna look at it and say, yo, why should I help this motherfucker when he talking shit about me? The diddler. I seen them in a meeting together before. Al Sharpton, Wendy Williams, Puff Daddy, and Donald Trump at the Four Seasons Hotel downtown. And I'm sure he was telling them because all this shit is planned, bro. Yo, you know I'm gonna be president one day. I'm gonna need y'all support. But they flipped. You understand what I'm saying? They flipped. Because everybody was dealing with Donald Trump at one time. That was in the music record business and all that stuff like that. So my whole thing about it is, all that shit is propaganda, bullshit. It's just having somebody, they need something to talk about. Donald Trump probably wouldn't put on Puff if he was on fire.
Even if Trump were to grant Diddy a pardon, it wouldn't mean immediate freedom. By law, Diddy would still have to serve at least a year or more behind bars. And with sentencing still pending, the reality is that a pardon can only be applied once he's officially inside the prison system. That entire process could stretch well over a year, and during that time, anything could happen. Diddy knows all too well that his reputation on the streets makes him a target. Plenty of people are looking to settle scores, and prison could be the very place where they finally get their chance.
You heard how Trump, he spoke on giving Puffy a pardon? You heard what he said about it?
He still would have, if he pardoned Diddy, as far as I know, he would still have to go through the process. I don't think Trump is just gonna send the marshals or the Department of Justice, teach them over there to the fucking jail, yo, get Diddy out. And when he had friends that went to jail, remember he had friends that went to jail who worked for him, who did some shit. What did he do? They went through the same process that every person go through in giving a pardon. And that might take a year, that may take 2 years. But he's gonna have to go through the process first, because I don't think Trump is gonna show him any special favors for him not going through the process. So if Trump said that he may pardon him, he might still have to do a year, 9 months, or even longer than that. And I don't believe he is. I think 50 gonna be right there in his ear. And I think 50 is closer than Trump than Diddy is.
To make matters worse, prosecutors are now pushing for an even harsher punishment. Reports suggest the judge may go beyond standard federal guidelines and hand Diddy a sentence far longer than he ever anticipated. Since those guidelines don't actually cap the length of time, it all comes down to what the judge believes is appropriate given the severity of the case. And that could spell disaster for Diddy.
In early July, Combs was convicted on 2 prostitution-related charges, each carrying a maximum sentence of 10 years. He was found not guilty on the more serious racketeering charges.
Today's a great victory.
After the July verdict, prosecutors initially expected Combs would face a prison term of 4 to 5 years, according to CBS News. However, according to a written submission filed Thursday in a Manhattan federal court, as reported by the Associated Press, the expected sentence is now substantially higher. The submission also opposed Combs' request to be released on a $50 million bail ahead of his October 3rd sentencing. The filing also says Combs must remain in custody until sentencing unless he can prove exceptional circumstances, and according to prosecutors, he cannot. This comes after a previous bail request for $1 million was also denied following the verdict. A federal judge ruled there was no evidence to suggest Combs doesn't pose a danger to others or the community. With these latest developments, Combs will remain in jail until his sentencing on October 3rd.
Diddy's legal team has now filed their 5th request for bail, this time putting a massive $50 million package on the table. The deal includes his Miami mansion as collateral, full surrender of his passport, restricted travel, a complete ban on phone and internet use, and strict home confinement under private security watch. But despite all these conditions, many believe Diddy is terrified of what awaits him behind bars, and that if he's released, he won't think twice about making a run for it.
Diddy's legal problem. So Diddy's legal team has just filed a motion for bail. They're offering $50 million. They're, basically arguing that it's unfair that he's behind bars, given the nature of his conviction. His attorneys are asking the judge to approve the $50 million bond package, and they want him to live on house arrest in his Miami mansion while he waits, for his convictions. Now, the judge, has ordered Diddy to remain in Brooklyn's Metropolitan Detention Center until October 3rd, when his sentencing is set. So, and remember, the judge also, cited during the case that Diddy's admitted violence towards his former lovers, including Cassie. He said, quote, "It's impossible for the defendant to show he possesses no danger to any person." So he said that. So that's the reason he felt that he needed to stay behind bars. So I'm wondering, if this, this will still apply.
To the Sean Diddy Combs case, we may learn this week if he will be released on bond while he awaits sentencing. His lawyers filed a request asking the judge to release Combs on $50 million bond. Combs was convicted earlier this month on charges of transportation to engage in prostitution, and he was acquitted of more serious charges of sex trafficking and racketeering conspiracy. The government is expected to respond by this Thursday. Combs' sentencing is scheduled for October.
Judge Arun has ruled that Diddy poses a serious flight risk, and given his record of violence, no amount of money can justify granting him bail. Cassie's attorney, along with her close friend Deontay Nash, have both issued public appeals urging the court to reject Diddy's request. The concern is clear. If Diddy is released, those who testified against him will be in immediate danger, with Cassie at the top of that list. Whether through bail or a potential pardon, letting him out would put her life at risk.
Let's see what's going to happen with this Diddy trial. Federal prosecutors are now responding to Diddy trying to get out, right, while he's waiting to get sentenced. And so basically what prosecutors are saying is that they believe that his response that his crimes reflect aggravating, not mitigating factors, and they want to justify his continued incarceration. Diddy had said that he's just a John. He's not the one that participated in having sex with these male escorts. He only watched. Right. And his ex-girlfriends are the ones that had sex. Well, they said that ignores the fact that he transported individuals for the purpose of prostitution on hundreds of occasions over the course of decades. And they also said he did ply Cassie and Jane Doe with drugs to make sure they would participate in marathon freak-off sessions while victimizing them through his violent outbursts. So they said he should not be released on a $50 million bond because he does pose a danger and he has a history of violent behavior.
Sean Diddy Combs has been denied bail after the verdict in his trafficking case, and here's how he took the news. According to NBC News reporters in the courtroom, Combs appeared, quote, deflated as his hopes of going home were seemingly dashed as his lawyers attempted to convince Judge Aaron Subramanian to release their client ahead of his sentencing. In his ruling, Subramanian cited Combs' years-long pattern of violence as a reason for him to remain behind bars, adding that he continues to be a danger to others and unable to follow the law. Arguing that Combs, who pleaded not guilty to racketeering conspiracy, trafficking by force, fraud, or coercion, as well as transportation to engage in prostitution, was acquitted on the three most serious charges of trafficking and racketeering and only convicted of prostitution-related offenses. Defense attorney Mark Agnifilo insisted he should be released on appropriate conditions. As Agnifilo outlined, Combs would be willing to put up a $1 million cash bond co-signed by his mom Janice Combs, his sister Keisha Combs, and Sarah Chapman, the mother of Combs' eldest daughter Chance Combs, and have no access to his private plane, which is currently grounded in Maui. He also agreed to surrender his passport, undergo drug testing, and restrict travel to areas of New York, Florida, and California as necessary to attend court and meet with lawyers.
In a surprising twist, Diddy's legal team is now pushing to have the entire case dismissed. Their argument? Since Diddy supposedly never took part in the freak-offs himself and only observed from the sidelines, he can't be held criminally responsible. But let's not forget, he was the one orchestrating it all, setting things up, and giving the orders. If that doesn't make him guilty, then what does?
Sure. So the Mann Act was passed in 1910, and it's changed a few times through the years, but really what it's geared at, what it's focused on, is prosecuting people who make money from the business of prostitution. And that's not the allegation against Mr. Combs. The allegation of Mr. Combs, what the jury found, essentially was that he was a user of services provided by workers, essentially a John, for lack of a better word. And the Mann Act just historically hasn't been applied to Johns. It's a financial statute. It's really been applied at people who look to make money from prostitution. And so since that's not how it's being applied here, we made the argument that we have to, under the case law and the statutes in this area, that this is an exceptional reason and that Mr. Combs should be considered for release on bail because of it.
Well, Diddy is upping his offer to the government. He wants out of jail right now. You know that he is still behind bars at Brooklyn MDC while he is awaiting his sentence in October. But right after he was sentenced, they tried to get out on bail. They made an offer. They said, we'd like for him to be released on $1 million bail. The judge shut that down. So now it's like he's playing Let's Make a Deal, right? How about this, Your Honor? What if we offer a $50 million bail package? The money has gone up, but the reason that he thinks he should get out is because he says what he's convicted of were nonviolent offenses. And he's right. He's right that he was convicted on 2 counts of the Mann Act. The Mann Act is hiring a prostitute and taking the prostitute across state lines. It's a nonviolent crime.
Adding to Diddy's troubles, a fresh lawsuit has just been filed, this time naming both him and his son, Justin Combs. The allegations stem from a 2017 incident where a woman claimed she was enticed to Los Angeles with the promise of a job, only to be trapped for an entire weekend and subjected to a brutal assault.
The self-proclaimed bad boy for life, Sean Combs, is facing a series of new allegations of sexual abuse and sexual assault. tonight. At least 6 people filed civil lawsuits against him in federal court in New York today. I think the biggest headline from here is that one of these alleged victims was a minor. That's serious.
Very serious, and I agree with you, Elizabeth. Obviously, it changes the game. This is just a civil lawsuit, but if that works its way into the federal criminal indictment, if there is indeed a superseding indictment, that changes the game in 2 ways. One, of course, there's mandatory minimum and very serious sentences for trafficked minors. But importantly, it really gets around one of Combs's defense. That is that the contact happened, but it was consensual between adults because, of course, minors cannot consent.
With Trump refusing to grant a pardon and the judge striking down his latest bail attempt, Diddy's future has never looked bleaker. The mogul who once seemed untouchable may finally be out of power, out of money, and out of options. But here's the question. Should Diddy get another shot at freedom, or is it time for him to spend the rest of his life behind bars? Share your thoughts in the comments, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and ring the bell so you never miss the next update on this story.